The Bags and Boards podcast number 84. We back, baby, and I got some crazy updates, and we have some crazy stuff happening in the marketplace. PSA's grade in 10s. We're going to talk about this. Jeff, you got a ghost from PSA. We got to talk about your Killing Joke 10.0, the only one to be found on PSA right now, we've confirmed, but also one of how many in existence if you combine with the CGC census?
I believe 14 CGC 10.0s right now.
So you have gotten the 15th one. If you add them together, we need to talk about that. Also, I want to talk about my willingness to overspend on comic books. Like they were priced kind of aggressively, and I went knowing that they were going to, and I spent more money than probably some people would agree with. But I want to talk about why after our last podcast, before we get to all of these things, because even our last podcast, we had some interesting conversations about pricing, and the community section went crazy. I'm so excited to get into your comments, guys. You guys got to be commenting. We make video content out of the comments. You guys have some crazy stories, and we're here for it. Hit the like and subscribe. Bags and Boards podcast, the #1 comic book collecting podcast, is back, and we're available for our audio-only listeners on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And it would mean the world to us if you left a review on those platforms. We got an update, Jeff. Shout out to MJ across the pond. He got an image of the Superman 1, the no grade from 2 podcasts ago. And I'm looking at the grader's notes. And I'm assuming you haven't seen these notes.
No.
I waited for you, brother.
So you actually...
With the information. I'm looking at it right now.
Someone has the... All right.
Yeah, they screen grabbed the numbers. They figured out what they were. And shout out MJ for sending it to me. No grade Superman 1 from 1939. And it looks accurate, okay? Now, remind the community, this was 2 podcasts ago, number 82. So you should watch that because the owner of this book said it was worth how much?
$5 million plus?
$6 million.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's a $6 million lie.
The label text says this: cover and first wrap are color copies. Incomplete. Conservation includes pieces reattached to interior, interior reinforced, centerfold reinforced. Grader notes: color copy cover, color copy first wrap, corners chipping, cracking all wrap, split top of all wrap, split bottom of all wrap.
Well, what's the page quality if it's split? Is it brittle, slightly brittle? Or?
Slightly brittle pages.
Okay.
How do you feel about this? Is he any closer to that $6 million marker, Jeff?
You're even further away than I thought. No, but okay. So in short, it's a brittle book. It's completely split down the spine of the entire book, it sounds like. And there's a photocopy of the front cover and the first wrap. That is in like theoretically
it's a Frankenstein.
Short of it.
It's a Frankenstein book.
So it's a Franken book. It's got its issues. So.
All right. Well, there's the update. I think we have confirmed.
MJ.
Far cry from $6 million. What do you think about this in the comment section? Because we're still getting comments from that last video about it because it ruffles so many feathers. Listening to him talk about his own collection. Last week, we discussed the difficulties of pricing comics that dealers and people have in general and how all over the place it can get, you know, specifically with that $6 million comic, and it kind of led to that. And we were discussing overpaying for comics. And damn it, this last weekend, I overpaid. And I want to talk about why. Because there's 2 big factors that I think we can discuss today about reasons why someone may overpay. I went to Golden Age Comics, Seattle, Pike Place Market. This comic book store means a lot to me. Can you maybe guess why? Like what? When you say Golden Age Comics in Seattle and Pike Place, what do you think of, Jeff? Because we are Washingtonians.
I mean, listen, it's kind of a historical spot. It's been around a very long time. It's in a historical Pike Place Market.
Same owner since like the 70s, apparently.
Yeah, so, and it's kind of got a great selection of vintage books.
It's kind of surprising, actually, because this is a store, you got to think, Pike Place Market, right by the water, you know, you got the Space Needle, you got the Ferris wheel. It's in the heart of Seattle where people go to visit. A lot of tourists go.
And I think it's also the first Starbucks location ever.
Yeah, out in Seattle.
Yeah.
That is indeed true. So yeah, you can get your Starbucks. You can go get your raw fish. We're known for having the fish. They throw it around and stuff. And you can also get some vintage comic books. And that is something that's special for me. because whenever I go down there, I bring people there. There's also a really cool magic shop in Pike Place. I mean, I have a couple stores I like to visit that I've been going to since I was a kid, since I was a teenager. And Golden Age Comics is one of them. Now, this is a store that, by all accounts, it doesn't need to offer vintage comics. You know what I mean?
And just to be fair, I mean, it's considered golden age collectibles because there are other stuff in there, a lot of reading and pops and figures. So they've kind of tied it all in together and under one roof.
True. I mean, they have monthlies. You know, you can get your latest issues of comic books. They have toys. They have anything you can think of, you know, refrigerator magnets to statues. And you got to think, they're appealing to the masses here. They don't need to have a vintage section. But the thing is that they have had a vintage section for a long time. And it's super inconvenient to go through their comics. Like, just saying it what it is. It's a tight squeeze. There's people everywhere. Like, this is a pop-in store, right, Jeff? You can back me up on this.
Yeah, and everything's kind of in a display case. You got to ask for help in the back. And I don't really think they let you take the books out. Someone has to take it out for you.
Well, they're behind. I mean, at least when I went in there, they were behind the glass, and they pull them out, and they're in these buckets. And I can show you an example, actually, of what they look like. Because for a shop from the 70s, right? One of the most famous shops in the Pacific Northwest, there's something endearing about it. First off, they put my comics in 2 bags because you know what? They're vintage, so let's put them in 2 bags. But look at how the books come, because all the books look the same as far as the way that they are protected. What I'm holding here for our audio listeners is a book that I added to my PC. This is a book that I wanted for my PC, and I wanted it from this location when I saw it, because now I know my copy of Jimmy Olsen's Superman Pal, technically Superman's ex-pal is what it says in the title, issue number 133. I know that my Jack Kirby minor key came from Golden Age Collectibles. Why is this book awesome?
I mean, that's a nice looking book. It's the introduction of the Fourth World, right? It's Jack Kirby's first work, I think, on DC.
Correct. The first Jack Kirby DC introduction to the Fourth World. This book it doesn't get enough love. This is a big moment in DC. But notice, it's in like, what would you even call this? It's like for
it's a magazine size.
We're looking at the plastic that you would get for school for a 3-ring binder. And then there's a magazine board, and then the comic, the Bronze Age 15 center, is floating in there. And this is how all of their vintage books are stored. They're just in a bucket that are all looking like this.
It's not really a bucket. It's like a square.
Not a short box, you know?
No, not a short box. This is a nice looking copy, dude.
It's a great looking copy. I probably could have gotten one for roughly 20, 30 bucks. I think I paid just over 30 bucks for it. I didn't overpay much, but it's definitely was a copy that...
It sounds like a good deal for this book. I don't know. I haven't looked up numbers in a while, but...
I mean, it's a pretty affordable Jack Kirby book, but the thing was, when I thought about what I was doing, is I didn't really care if I was paying $10 or $15 more than I could potentially otherwise, because there's 2 factors that are going into this purchase here. The first is, I want this book from this location because this comic store means something to me. Coming from Golden Age Collectibles, you know, Pike Place Market. Yeah, them having vintage is already something that I shouldn't expect them to have. It was awkward as hell having the employee break out these bins for me to be in the corner with all these people walking past me so I can go through to pick one book. There are people in line the entire time that I'm in this store, but they're taking the time with me to go through vintage, and I appreciate that. It can't be cheap to be in that location, you know, like it's whatever it takes to have vintage books there. Maybe having a slightly higher value on these books than you could find, I don't know, at an elementary school freaking Comic-Con, you know, like we used to do, like Meridian back in the day or something like that, you know, swap meet pricing, things like that. But then the second thing was the value of buying something in person. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like a lot of people will spend a little bit more at conventions, and we have, you know, complaints about how pricing at a con can be so high. But I do think a large majority of people want to buy stuff in person. They want to see the book. I mean, you're going to have that audience who's okay with buying it online, but I know people save up so they can have that kind of actual human interaction of feeling the book, counting the pages in the book. I mean, how many times have we received a book from, I don't know, an online sale where it isn't as described, or when you see it in person, it's not as nice as these, photographs are. And I think there's something to that where you pay a little extra just to have that experience. And I'm not saying you go nuts, right? But there is something to buying something in person opposed to just, clicking and shipping like you do online.
Yeah, I think some people may hear us saying we didn't mind spending more money on a comic book as like, oh, okay, that seems like it's a weird thing to
Yeah,
say.
it's kind of counterintuitive. You think you want to, preserve every dollar and maximize everything that you spend so you can get actually more things.
Yeah, but I just added something to my PC that I'll always remember, and there's a value to that. And also, there's a value to this shop that's important to me being able to offer vintage comic books.
That's an emotional purchase then for you, really, right? Maybe not be rational, but it's emotional for that because it's got a little heartstring for you. And I could see that, like, there's also the story that comes with it. I bought stuff from the Pawn Stars before, and
Sure.
that's just like,
In Vegas?
yeah, in Vegas. So it's kind of a conversation thing, right? You're like, hey, guess where I got this from? So same thing. If you bought it from that guy who overprices his books out in, Dubai or whatever, Speedy Comics, right? You're like, hey, I got this from that person.
I was eating a hot dog and I got this comic at the same time.
Yeah, or whoever you bought it from. I
Yeah.
bought this directly from Rob Liefeld, this piece of art. I didn't just buy it from another art dealer. So there's something to that, I think.
Yeah, I want to know from the community, is there anything that you've purchased that you're okay maybe spending a little bit more than usual because it was in person or it was a special situation and it was more about where or who you were buying it from? I think that adds to the collectible. It adds to the value, personal value. But then at the same time, doesn't it give you a different perspective a little bit about why people spend money? And I think that it's a fascinating thing to dive into those types of situations because then it kind of opens the doors for you to consider new things. This is kind of like a couple degrees removed from a pedigree, right? Like it's not a pedigree. This is a personal
No.
thing, but it's in that same kind of area
Yeah.
on the diagram,
The
right?
story and the history matters with an item. And that's, like you said, pedigree. I mean, people play multiples and multiples of actual value to have it be a pedigree.
Okay, let's get into it. You're sitting there like you don't have a damn ghost on the damn table.
Ooh.
Is there a ghost in my house? Band of freaking horses, Jeff. We have the 15th Joker #1, Killing Joke, Alan Moore, graded at a 10.0 sitting on this table. Hold that up, man. What the hell's going on?
The no number first print.
Oof. Exceptionally white pages.
Yeah, not just white, but exceptionally white.
Oh, we got to talk about this, dude. There's people talking about PSA a lot lately. And, the grading wars have begun. You may not want to recognize it, but it's happening right here, right now, every single day.
Yeah,
Will there be casualties? I mean, that's what we're talking about today, dude.
it began with Clone Wars, and now we're at grading wars.
PSA started up, and the very first thing they said was,
Order 66.
No, 9 point.
10.0, 10.0. Okay, well, let's
No,
get
no,
into
no,
it.
come on.
You're sitting there with the Killing Joke 10.0 on the table, dude.
I am.
I'm just saying what every viewer is saying right now. What are the odds? What the hell? Get into it. Because here's the thing. I will preface this conversation with, because we got to get into it. We got to get into 9 9s, 10.0 conversations with CGC and PSA.
Buckle up because
Buckle up.
it's gonna be a few minutes, that's for sure.
It's going to be a little bumpy, but also, I don't even know where we're going. It's a bumpy ride, but I don't know where we're going yet. And we
I don't
got to kick
either.
it to the community. And we're just here to provide the data, the information, talk about this book. Because the first thing I'll preface is it looks like a 10.0. I got to be very real with the comic fam. I inspected it. I even polished the slab a little bit because I wanted to see it in all of its glory. And if this was a CGC 10.0 and I was looking at it, I would go, this is a 10.0. It looks like a 10.0, Jeff. But if you sent this same book into CGC, do you think it would be a 10.0?
I'm gonna say there's no guarantee if you get a 10.0, no matter from who, that
Okay.
it's guaranteed to be a 10.0 again. Unless it's like a modern book, you know what I mean? But like for something that's 80s, 90s, I just don't feel like this is my overall kind of feel about 10.0s and 9.9s. Okay. I feel that when a book has, I don't know, 4,000 copies and a 9.8 and maybe a couple 9.9s, but no 10s, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't track. So I just feel the 10 and the 9.9 have always been kind of not looked for to be graded. I feel like there's extra effort for a grader to go to that 9.9 and 10.0 that just isn't potentially given. Now, I could be wrong. Obviously, I don't really know, but it just doesn't make sense to me to have 3,000 plus copies in 9.8s and not have any 10.0s or maybe even 9.9.
There are a total of 3,432 9/8 of the Killing Joke on the CGC census. 3,033 of them are Universal Blue Label. Just shy of 400 have a signature on them. There are 3,224 copies of a 9.6. There are 1,560 copies of a 9.4. We are talking about a grand total of clear over 7,000 copies of Killing Joke first print, Alan Moore, graded on the census, with a sole total on the CGC census of 14 in existence at a 10.0. And you sent one in raw, one of the very first months of PSA being really like operating and pumping out grades, and you got one. My first question is that the only Killing Joke that you sent in?
That's the only Killing Joke I sent in. I sent in about 250 books.
Damn.
Okay. And like I had 7.0s, 7.5s, 9.2s, 9.0s, 8.5s. I had a gamut of grades. This was the only 10.0 that I received because I sent mostly vintage stuff anyway.
I sent in just over 100, and about, what would you say, 15 to 20, about 20 were non-modern books, that Bronze Age kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I will say is, out of the 100 books, 80 of which were, let's just say, modern, right? I was not surprised by any of the grades. They were graded accurately across the board. There was no 6.5 that I'm like, whoa, this should be a 3.0. There was no 8.0 that I'm like, oh, that should have been a 9.6. No, the books that I sent in, and there was some that I sent in just to see what they would do. I sent in copies of a book that they even reached back out and said, you sure you don't want to press on these? I said, no, straight up, grade them as is, because I knew which ones I sent. And those books all came back lower grade. 9.8 and below, I have no complaints for the 100 that have passed through my hands that I graded before sending, that I pressed before sending. Some of them I didn't press, some of them I did, across the board. Now, of those 100, there was like 5 or 6 modern books that came back a 10.0. Books that I was surprised were 10.0s. But should I be surprised? Because what you just described is a CGC thing versus PSA thing. We can talk about PSA's 10.0 and the scale and how they reach that. But what you just suggested was, should there be more 9.9s and 10.0s in existence? Flat, hard stop, CGC hasn't been doing it enough. And I think that's the first question that we have to maybe get in agreement on. Because at this point, from what we know from 9.9s and 10.0s, clearly we're talking about manufacturer defects. We're talking about so few of defects that they don't even put it on the grader's notes, right? They don't even say it because they can't, right? It's just too much.
Yeah, it's got to be so slight that it's not even, able to put into words. It doesn't quite make sense to me. And like you said, like, this is a new company in my eyes who's looking at books with the potential of, a book can be a 10, and this is what we think is a 10, and we're really being aggressive on looking at these books to get to that level, and can they reach it? I feel like CGC maybe, just potentially, I could be completely wrong, but when I look at the numbers, that's all I can deduce is maybe like, we're at 9.8, call it good, and maybe not taking all these years in time to look at every book and be like, maybe this actually could be a 9.9 or a 10. Are they just stopping at the 9.8 and be like, okay, they're happy with the 9.8. 9.8's the cap. You know what I mean? Like, you look at so many books all the time that you're just kind of like, got to the 9.8, done, next, 9.8, next, done. And then that's about as far as they mostly want to go most of the time.
Well, let me play you this on the screen real quick because this was reposted. Shout out Dave from Comic Book Investments, a interview that Manu 99 Newsstand did with Matt Nelson. Take a look at this.
The line between 98 and 99 gets pretty tight. There's actually a good bit of stuff we allow in 98 that we don't in 99 or 10. And like printing defects is a big one. Are there some 99s among those 98s? Yeah, possibly. And maybe it just requires a little extra attention. There's, an idea that we've bandied about for a while now is eventually when we have the bandwidth is opening up a 99 pre-screen for, basically anything, probably holdered books. It's so much harder to screen for 99s because
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the criteria is if there's a book out there that's in a 99 holder, people are looking that book up and down, looking for every little tiny thing on the, checking every little corner, every up and down the spine. But the criteria is very, very stringent for 99s. And so, I envision the screening service being something that would be very labor intensive, and there would probably be a cost associated with that. But, people I think would love it because there's a bunch of 98s out there that could possibly achieve 99.
There's some books that I literally have held back because I don't want them to just get slapped with a 98. I think they're deserving of better.
Yeah, the time may come to find out for sure if it's possible or not. We follow the market trends, and when they happen and when they start to to gain some momentum, that's when we try to go there. I see where the market's going with that, and so we'd like to answer that with something that kind of gives a little bit more clarity on the grade. Is there a way to get this book to a 99? Could it be a 99?
That's such an interesting thing to hear because it sounds like even CGC is recognizing that they should have let more 99s through, that maybe they were gatekeeping the high grades for some reason, as if there was like a quota or something. They got to keep the 99s down. There can't be too many, thinking that the standard was being raised. But here's the problem with that. What if the standard was too high? What if the 99s and 10.0s are not a good judgment on high grade quality books through CGC because PSA is saying, no, it's too high. Here's the actual 10.0 standard. What is their 10.0 standard? We can get into that conversation, but you're looking at a one of currently between both grading companies, one of 15 to have a 10.0 label. Now, my question to you is, what is that value? Because the last the last 10.0 sold, is this right? April 6, 2024 for $28,800 according to GPA. Is that a $28,000 book? Because you're going to sell this.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to go for sale in November for under Heritage's signature auction. So it's going to just be out there in public, let everyone see, like, what can this book do, apples to apples, right? But I just feel like that 28.8 was such an overpayment on this book. But who knows? Like, you probably had a couple people bidding back to back, and maybe it just got driven up. It sounds like a lot. I obviously don't have experience selling the 10.0, but we will all see. And I think it's aggressive. I think it's really aggressive.
There's only been 2 copies of a 10.0 that's hit the market. Yours is going to be the third, with the caveat that it's a PSA graded 10.0 since 2018. That is 7 years. Only 2. One sale, $28,800 as mentioned. The prior sale, $6,500. So let's be optimistic here. Let's just be optimistic and say, dude, you lucked out. It's a great looking book, dude. Like that, it looks like a 10.0. All right. No lie. Looks like a 10.0. I would be fooled if that was a CGC. I would say, yeah, this is what a 10.0 looks like. It could be a 10.0. It could be the 15th one in the world, But what are the odds that that is the case? With the current system as it is, it's very low. You have to admit.
I mean, I personally think that no matter what 10.0 I have, as long as it's not modern, like, this time frame or others, if I took it out and regraded it, I would not necessarily get a 10.0 again. So either it's a CGC 10.0 or not. If I had one of the 14 CGC 10.0s and I cracked it out and resubmitted it, that's the problem. And the biggest concern I have with 9.9s and 10s is just I don't necessarily think they're reproducible. I don't think I can just all of a sudden submit and again know that I'll just get that same grade.
Especially because you're talking specifically with the company that's providing the grade. And I want to get into that in a little bit here, because the big concern that I see with something like this is that let's say the book sells for a really high amount. Maybe it doesn't hit 28,000. Maybe it hits the 2022 price of 6,500. Does that mean that a 10.0 CGC is worth more than 6,500? Maybe. Does it mean that the book is actually worth 6,500? What happens if this time next year there are not 15 10.0s, including the one that you have, but there's 30 because PSA now has uncovered 15 copies? I'll bring this back to my first coverage on PSA. Spider-Man Torment, issue number 1. They marketed the 10.0 with a 10.0 McFarlane Spidey 1. Very few are on the census. Thousands have been graded, but they had one, which leads me to believe that what is most likely is probably true. Their grading scale is a little bit different than CGC. And what I'm hearing from you is that regardless of what PSA is doing, the CGC grading scale, the 9.9.10.0, and even hearing it from Manu's coverage with Matt Nelson, maybe the 9.9.10.0 is problematic as it currently lives.
You know what's also interesting? We haven't talked about CBCS, if they have any 10.0s on this book.
Doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, PSA is clearly solidly positioned themselves above CBCS, in my opinion.
Yeah, for now, that's exactly where we're at with it. I mean, CBCS.
Impressive in 2 months, right?
2 months, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I feel like CBCS
Kudos.
had a lot of opportunity, but I guess it hasn't happened for them. And I don't necessarily think it's just the label. I just think it's other things too that they could have just taken advantage of, but never happened. But yeah, I mean, if we want to just talk between PSA and CGC and CBCS as well, they're different entities. I think they will all grade just slightly a little different. The thing is, what is acceptable to you in the marketplace?
And what value do you put on it?
Right. Like if a book is theoretically perfect at a 10, is that really hard to grade then?
Well, another way to look at it too is like we are talking about grading scales within comics where there's really been virtually no competition. But if you take this to the card market, Beckett is a 9.5, I believe. That's their top tier, you know? But then you have 10.0s on others. And then you have different criterias that are all like really going to be like how it was cut, you know? I don't know a whole lot about cards, but it's very much on the manufacture process as it pertains to grades. Different companies have different grading scales, essentially, different criterias. People value them differently. They're not the same across the board. So within grading, take a step back out of PSA versus CGC and the grading wars. They should be different if you compare to any other collectible. But right now, we're looking at 10.0s that are about to hit the market, yours specifically, and you're throwing out there, what's it going to hit? Will it achieve the same? Should it achieve the same? These are all questions that I have for the community. I want to know their thoughts because my gut is, if this is the only one that hits the census, which there are no PSA census, there is no PSA census. I reached out to PSA. They said that they're working on it, but they have no ETA on it.
Yeah, and I reached out to them too to ask them specifically, is this the only copy? They said it is the only copy. It's exceptional white pages. And yeah, they're trying to get a census out as soon as possible. It seems to be a high priority on their list. So which I think is great to keep track of how many books they're grading and at what grade point.
I beg them to prioritize this because I want to like throw out there. I want to be optimistic. I want this to be a 10-0. I want there to be very few 10-0s of this book that exists between now and then because I'm hoping that, wishful thinking, CGC hasn't been grading too hard over the years. But at the same point, I don't want PSA to undergrade. I want these collectibles to maintain the true value. I want to get as close to the true value as possible. And a big part of that problem is because there's only been one grading company for the most part that people have used. The monopoly has caused a lot of the issue. So what I want to dish out is a big warning. You have to say it, dude. In the event that PSA's grading scale starts to change the way collectors view these grade point averages, if there are more Killing Jokes that come out between now and next year, how long did it take CBCS to get a census out? It took them years, dude. More than 3, I believe. That'll be a day of reckoning.
I think it may be, it may not be. It just depends.
I think it will. I mean, it depends on which way it goes.
It just depends where it goes.
If there's 1 or 2 10.0s, no problem.
Right.
But if 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 1 year from now, that PSA census count comes out, and that book goes for the same price as the last one did, or any book, We haven't even talked about 266, first appearance of Gambit in full, hitting a 10.0 at PSA within the first 2 months of their grading system being released in, capsulization. And CGC's never graded a 10.0.
Yeah, and they have what, over almost 3,000 9/8 alone,
And not one 10.0. But PSA comes on the scene, 10.0.
399s, I believe, is what it is, but not a single 10.0. I mean,
Something's wrong. Something's wrong,
for
but
me,
we don't know which
just-
direction to look.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, look, I'm not a grader. Obviously, I grade books, but
Sure.
that end of it. But I would just think that of 3,000 copies in 9/8,
You would think one by now, which also
you would think more than one,
which gives me more faith in PSA with that same mindset. But this is the part that I gotta get out. This is the part that I'm concerned about. This is the warning. If there are more Killing Joke ones at a 10.0 that get graded, and people who don't have a YouTube channel can't show it on screen, and they're just out there, we just don't know about it. And that census comes out in a year, 2, 3 years. And there isn't 15 copies. There's 45. Between now and then, all the people buying these books at a 10.0 on Heritage who are just going to assess it very similarly, maybe the same even, that's going to be what I described as casualties. Those are the people that are going to get screwed. Those are the people that are going to regret purchasing these 10.0s. And dare I say, this could be the biggest bubble that we've seen since the comic boom. There's been nothing that's happened since then that can have this drastic of a shift in the foundation of the value of collectibles.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily think that's how it's going to happen.
But it could. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm saying it could happen.
Sure. And I mean, then the same thing would be like, does CGC make their adjustments or not? Like, do they start taking it a little bit more seriously, or do they stay stringent as well? Because I feel that's kind of what it is just staying stringent. Now, the other conversation is 9/8 to the 10. So there's the thought process of, well, what's in between?
From PSA, because there's no 9.9.
PSA, right. There's no 9.9. So, is there the thought that if it's a 9.8 and it's above a 9.8, does it get rounded up to a 10?
This is literally my first thing I pondered.
And I can't imagine.
A lot of people give me shit, by the way. A lot of people were like, why do you care about them not having a 9.9? You were kind of like, what's the big deal? The big deal is if their grading scale is, it's a bit better than a 9.8, 10.
No,
that's the potential
that doesn't
problem.
make sense, because if it's not a 10, then why is it at a 10, right? It doesn't make sense to round it up. It's either it has to be a 10. It isn't like,
as you're sitting with one of 15 in existence currently, Killing Joke number 1,
right.
10.0s on the desk right in front of me.
Yeah, which crazy. But looks beautiful, right?
Looks beautiful. That's why this is interesting.
That's why the conversation is like, is the 10-point line at one company just so extreme that it's just not going to be given that because it's
just like the card market?
The 9.8 is the win. Move on next.
Just like the card market. Some of these companies, a 10.0 means different than another 10.0. One's valued as such. And I think that could be what's happening in real time. So really the thought is, okay, if that's the case, arguable, 9.8s could be looked at as the same. PSA 9.8 is equivalent to a CGC 9.8. We're probably right now too early to tell, but there's some damn impressive numbers happening. But then you go up the scale. A 9.9 could be argued as possibly through CGC, because there's no 9.9 at PSA, as either the same as a 10.0 or possibly even better. And then you have the PSA 10.0. And just after that, if the scale is leaning on difficulty to reach the 10.0 at CGC, top of the food chain. Where does that 10.0 PSA live? It either lives below the 9.9 CGC or after, but it sure as hell isn't going to be matching the 10.0 if CGC doesn't start pumping out more 10.0s.
So the conversation for me is like, what if you have a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous 9.8 from CGC? Do you crack that out and submit it to PSA, thinking that they're actually maybe taking the time to look for books in extremely high grade and give them that 10?
100%.
Like, if you feel like one company isn't taking the time to give what the book probably may deserve, like, do you then just move on to the company that is maybe taking that time to give it an extra look because they're looking to put books in 10s because they feel it's fair and right for the book? So it's interesting to see where this is going to go. And that's kind of what's going to make it fun. Like PSA has a roadmap. They already watched CBCS.
Yeah,
They're
don't
lucky.
do that.
They watched 4 or 5 years, of the where they went, where they faltered, and same with CGC. We've seen CGC falter plenty. All right, PSA will falter as well, guaranteed. If there's anything more true than those words, I'm telling you right now, there isn't. That's PSA will falter multiple times because that's just part of it apparently.
Right now, the biggest potential falter that I can imagine is they're going to tip the 10.0 scale the way that they already have begun to. And that census count not being out will be detrimental to the prices. And it will cause a lot of people to overspend possibly. We need to know if there's more ghosts being made because we don't have an example. We have a lot of examples from CBCS doing stuff, but we know what we don't have is a flood of 10.0s from CBCS. It's interesting to think about. It's not just CGC. I mean, we do need, you brought up CBCS. They've been grading this entire time. A lot of these individuals who grade, would it be surprising to find out that people at PSA used to work at CGC or CBCS? A lot of these people are the same. There's only so many graders, professional graders. I'm sure they hired some new people. I'm sure they've been training people too, but a lot of these graders jump to other grading companies, But it's interesting that CBCS didn't experience this PSA grading results early on.
Does CBCS have a 9.9?
Almost positive they do.
Is that a big mistake by PSA not doing a 9.9? That's going to be the next question. Is it a mistake not to have a 0.1 difference where we have no 0.1 differences anywhere else in this scale? But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if CBCS has a 9.9, but the fact that we've never had this conversation makes me think that they do have one.
Yeah. 9.8, 9.9, and 10.0.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's a second grading company that, you're not seeing 10.0 first gambits coming out in the years that they've been doing it, at least as quickly as these recent copies have hit the market. And I want to know the community's thoughts about this. Like, how do you assess prices on these things? Because as mentioned before, 9.8 and below, 9.8 and below, I got no problems, dude. They look great. The slabs are like indestructible, man. I was on a live stream on Whatnot. You guys got to follow me on Whatnot. And I took one of my slabs and I threw it behind me down my stairs in the warehouse. You know how many times I threw it down the stairs before I got a crack? Like 7 times.
Really?
It had to land on the freaking corner from the very top step. So I'm like, what is going on? So I went outside and I started throwing it in the air, landing from 10, 12, 15 feet. I was throwing it up on live stream. No problems. Like, I mean, granted, it hits cement. There's going to be, dings in the plastic and such. But dude, a CGC book would have shattered over and over and over again. The comic on the inside was completely fine. Then I took it and I got aggressive with it. I saw...
Because that wasn't aggressive.
It wasn't aggressive enough. I'm like, there's some freaking Doctor Strange sorcery going on here. And I went to like the end of a parking lot where you have like the cement bricks that you for your tires to like hit so you don't go too far.
Yeah, the curve.
And I just started freaking smacking it, dude. Smacking it on the corner. The rock started breaking, Jeff. The slab didn't look great, but there was no cracks. It did not shatter. The comic was fine on the inside. It is amazing, the quality of these slabs.
That's wild.
But like, how often are you going to be in a position where you're like smacking your slab on some rocks? I don't know, to each their own. But like, as it pertains to the grading, my biggest concern at the very onset of this was not 9.8 and below. These are professionals. They're going to get the grading pretty dead on accurate. And you have a great experience so far with your grading. I have had a great experience as well. But it's that 9.9, 10.0 conundrum. And let's not undervalue the impact that it can have on the collectibles long term. When we're talking about one of 15, when we're talking about newsstand 9.8s just emerging in the marketplace, wait for the Mark Jewelers. Some of these books only sell 1 or 2 times in 7 years, like the book on the desk right in front of us.
35-cent price variance.
What happens then? And what happens between now and when the census count comes out? So we got to beg that PSA jumps on the census count. It's the only way to steer buyers in the right direction to properly assess how rare a collectible is.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the census, we're excited for it. I just want to feel comfortable that if I submit a book, that I at least have a shot at a 9.9 or a 10, not just dismissed into a 9.8. That's the thing that bugs me.
Dude, there's books that you have shown me that you have regraded multiple times, that you've even had graders review because you're like, how is this not a 9.9? Like, we all have those experiences, but you also feel like it's just a lottery ticket at that point.
Yeah, like I said, it all comes down to if I crack it out of a 10.0 holder, a 9.9, am I guaranteed to have that again?
And I don't think anybody in the comments would go.
Nobody in the comments would say yes, because I just don't think they feel comfortable in knowing that it's reproducible. And that is a problem to me. And maybe I'm just naive to what a 10 looks like, but I don't think so. I just don't believe that's the case. So,
well, I appreciate you, first off, being loud about the fact that you got at this point, extremely rare comic, and you're being very transparent about what you're doing with it. And people can like watch the journey. And the fact that you were able to get confirmation from PSA as of right now, this is the only one on their census that doesn't exist, but their internal census, I think bodes well for the book. I'm excited to see what it does, but also kudos to you for like getting in front of it and letting people know that it's happening. Because if this book just kind of came and went, dude, I can see someone maybe overpaying. I can see somebody going, oh, damn, wait a minute. There's 15 more of these a year from now. Shit, what did I just do? And you're curving that by being transparent.
Yeah, I just want everyone to see. Let's all see, like, this is a big deal, PSA coming to grade. It's a new thing. Now, listen, I do think that 28.8 is very, very aggressive. So I'd be shocked. It is the first one that PSA is graded exceptional white. Maybe that'll get a boost for that because who knows, down the road, that means something. But yeah, man, I want to see it. Like, plain as day. Let's freaking go. It's at a big auction. Everyone can watch it. I don't even think you need to sign up for an account.
Well, the real like something interesting to think about is we can project, we can guess, we can suggest that, hey, should this be worth as much as this? But yo, are you a buyer of 9.9, 10.0 keys? I'm not. I don't hunt down 9.9 G.I. Joe 1s to spend $20,000, $30,000 on. So like, our opinion doesn't really matter to a degree. What matters is those few individuals who collect the high end, the ghost comics, the very low census count books. And if this book that's on the table goes for 50%, 80%, 10% of what the CGC does, who knows what'll happen? Well, that tells you what those buyers, those collectors value this as. And they're the ones who are going to make the ultimate decision. The value of a PSA 10 is not in the hands of this community. It's not even us here. It's those who collect this stuff. And if they will spend $28,000 on it, if they do, well then damn, the grading wars they've definitely officially begun, but the first battle will have been won by PSA. Let's move on. We have community comments. But before we get to that, I gotta tell you about this dynamite BlindBag Vampirella that just cleared $46,000 on Kickstarter. We love Dynamite here. They just acquired the Supernatural IP. They're bringing Buffy the Vampire Slayer to comics, keeping Buffy alive. I love it. And we have the Vampirella mystery bag, okay? $250 minimum value with 6 items in each blind bag. Go to the Kickstarter, take a look at it. I'm not going to sit here and read a bunch of stuff. I'm going to read you the artist names featured in this bag. Mark Spears, J. Scott Campbell, Jenny Frizen, Alex Ross, Peach freaking Momoko, Lucio Perillo. Do I need to say anything else, Jeff?
And there's more. And so it's a pretty star-studded cast here.
Well, take a look at the Kickstarter. The link's in the description. Secure your blind bag. Let's get on to the community comments. Oh my gosh, we had a spicy video last week. And we have some spicy comments. Let me hit you with one, Jeff. This one's from Andre Kress. You guys were talking about pricing problems. We absolutely were. I was at a flea market a few weeks ago and picked up a stack of about 20 books. The condition through the bags looked pretty good. I know it's on me to inspect the books in their entirety, but I was in a hurry, so I grabbed them and ran. When I got home and rebagged and boarded the books, I realized he had stuck the price stickers on the bags and then wrote the price on the sticker so hard that it left impressions on the price on every book. Damn, And there was a lot of people who liked and commented on that because they know they did not want to be in that position. That's a bummer.
It does happen. Thing you don't do is put your price sticker on and use like a ballpoint pen to like price your books. Either write it off to the side and then stick it on, or you use like a really felt pen that doesn't apply pressure. So,
And you know how you
I've seen
learn
that.
that mistake?
as a owner of the shop,
And you do
You
it
get
yourself.
you get
or
returns.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a return or you do it yourself by mistake. Even a Sharpie. Like you can write on a sticky note and put the sticky note, let's say you put the sticky note on the comic book that's bagged and boarded and you write on a Sharpie. Even that level of pressure can cause an indent to that cover. I've seen it multiple times.
Really?
Yes.
With a normal Sharpie.
Normal Sharpie. Don't do it.
That's some pressure.
Yeah, you don't put any pressure on the book. That's a good like PSA, if you would. You see what I did there? Kind of full circled it. Okay, look at this. Benny Blanco. He says, one thing I can't stand that LCS and dealers do is overpacking their bins, where I can't even like get a finger in the bin. Hate overpacked bins. I have to bend the other comics to pluck one book out, or I'll get looks for taking out a stack of books just to see one book. Leave space to browse through. Dude, I can't stand this. I really appreciate this comment because there is a lot of packed bins, and the go-to recommendation is to remove a stack of books out of it to create the space. But then you're right, you're risking kind of a nasty look. Like, why are you pulling all those books out?
Well, yeah, and like you were talking about damage, like if you don't buy a single book from that box, you now have to take your hand and shovel it in the back or the front and then take that stack and put it back in without damaging it. And like that is not an easy feat.
All right, let's take a look at the comment from Fidencio Gonzalez 9051. I hate when they say it's a 9.6 or 9.8, but the comic book is not graded, like in a slab. And they charge you that grade even though the comic book is not graded. We going off their opinion and word. At Fan Expo Canada, there's a really nice dealer. Doesn't grade books, apparently, like slab books. And he got excited to show me an ASM 129. I'm looking at a lot of 129s right now. It's one of the hottest books in the world. He pulls it down. He had a price sticker of it on it of $15,000 and said it's a 9.8 candidate. Dude, looking at a Bronze Age book and trying to make a determination of a grade at a 9.8 is tough. The first thing he said was, I want to have one of the graders at CGC look at it. And that's something that CGC does. Like you actually can take it to a convention. Sometimes they'll set up shop and it's like, hey, show the graders the books and they'll give you kind of their 2 cents, give it a mock grade, off the cuff, a quick review. And he even said it's something he wanted to get reviewed to kind of give it that weight. But I remember thinking about this and then seeing this comment kind of all, full circled here. Like that is a very tough thing to call. It's almost a necessity to have grading with those moments. Because how could you justifiably charge somebody a value of a graded 9.8 when it's raw?
That's tough because, I mean, we know the difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8 is so drastic that you feel like why pay a graded price for a raw book? If you want it raw, go buy it 9.8, crack it out, and keep the label behind the board. And now you have, your 9.8.
Funny McFunfuns says, I hate pricing at the front. I got a good laugh at this one here. If they are pricing at the front, I have 2 strategies, okay? Let's hear this person's 2 strategies. The first one is, before making the stack, I bring a few issues up to see what they're going to be charging. If it's too much, I stick the books back and I leave, which was my recommendation. Like if you're not wanting to get stuck with a bunch of books to be disappointed on, that you're going to have to say, just put them back because you're waiting for them to grade through and price things. Do it in pieces. Here's one, let me know. And then kind of do it slow, see where this person's going, and then go from there. Don't do all the hunting up front and then get disappointed when you're unhappy with all the pricing and how long it takes for them to do so. The second route that this person goes through, if I have accidentally made a stack and I find out that they are pricing at the front, I politely tell them I need to get a few more. I then go back and stick my stack back in the bins. I do not leave the stack at the register because that is like, I just work for free to find them. Good issues, F that. So that right there, it's out of principle. He'll take the extra time to put them back because he's got so much pride in having done the work that he's not going to let that work go unvalued. He's going to put those comics back so that dealer doesn't know what he picked up. That's some, he's going above and beyond there.
I go back and forth. I kind of like it. I mean, I know it could feel petty, but
I like it
do
too.
like it. I mean, deep down, I'm not
Respect.
going to lie.
First thing I thought was respect.
No, I was like, I get it. I totally get it. And I didn't think about that really with a big stack. Like I probably just leave, but I would actually maybe do that now.
Would you put them back? You know, don't tell them like, oh, these are the books that you should probably price. Just go, oh, never mind. I'll put them back. You have to go.
Yeah,
do the
I would
homework.
just be like, you know, I started thinking back there and just put them all away. And before I left, you know what? I just changed my mind. I just put them back for you. Yeah, now just kind of like, I did it for you. I put it back.
The next comment is from Japan Haul Time. Keep the comments coming, ladies and gentlemen. The price on the back cover, when a dealer prices the back cover, not the front, it means people got to bend the crap out of the spines trying to figure out the price. I hate it. And that makes sense, dude. How many times do you see people pulling it out and then moving the book around and stuff? There's so much like potential problems with just people going through long boxes naturally. You're already having to make sure people aren't bending the books, you know, like doing the little lift it out but halfway and then turning it to look at it. Like that right there causes a ton of problems. Now you're actually having them take it out, move it around. Don't drop it. Make sure you actually remove it entirely to look, but you're also putting your hand in there to hold the spot. So now you're putting pressure over here for some reason when you don't even have to if it was just priced on the front. What do you think about this?
Yeah, price and grade on the front. And if you are happy with that, you flip it around to see the detailed description of what's going on. So number one, you should be able to see the price and the grade, in my opinion, on the front. And like I said, the back should only be for extra, like, oh, back cover water stain or rusty staple or detached centerfold. I mean, that's where the extra goes after you're okay with the price.
Jeff, we have a giveaway this week. It's a TMNT Shredder 1, Johnny Desjardins. Just Shredder looking badass on this cover. And we're giving away like 5 of them this week. Join the SMS group, comictom.com. Put your phone number in. This is the only way you can win giveaways from us. We do it all in-house. Join the SMS group. That was Bags and Boards number 84. Hit the like and subscribe. And of course, damn it, as always,
Collect the old and gold and geek responsibly.
enough said.
The hunt is always on. Here with your host, Mr. Comic Tom. 101 in the name, cause he's trying to teach you this game, bruh. Collecting comics ain't just reading, dude. You can make this hobby work for you. When you know the guru's got his gold stacked on deck. And I ain't talking about gold hanging around his neck. Enough said. Bags and Boys Podcast. Bags and Boys Podcast. Geek responsible.